Nicholas McAfee says, Bill, is it possible that Comey refused to recommend charges because he had proof? This is another angle that I meant to talk about. Nicholas, this is all you. I'm going to work this into the firewall, and I may say that I owe a lot of this to a bunch of my friends, but this is all you. I just had not seen this. I thought about it before, but I hadn't put it together with the Comey statement and so on. Bill, is it possible that Comey refused to recommend charges because he had proof of all the people who knew she was breaking the law and did nothing to stop it? All of those who remained silent would have to be charged with felonies, including President Obama, and the fallout would upset the entire apple cart. Did the FBI let her walk in order to shelter other guilty scum, but also to prevent instability? That is a profound insight. We were talking for the last hour about what lever they might have on Comey. We'll go with the assumption that he's a patriot and loves his country. What lever do they have on him? This is a profoundly good point. You can say, well, I'm going to the press anyway. And they say, okay, here's the deal, James. If you go to the press with this evidence, because you've got evidence, then that evidence is going to show that not only did Hillary Clinton break all of these rules and utterly disdainfully mishandle classified information, but 4 of these top secret emails were either to or from the President of the United States, because it's inconceivable that he didn't know that she had her own account. All of her mail came to her account. It didn't go to a .gov account. It went to clintonfoundation.org. So if the President of the United States has ever written an email to his Secretary of State, which I think is rather likely in this day and age, then the President knew that she had an external server and that she was dealing with classified information outside of the government system. And all the communications with the generals and everybody's complicit. I know this sounds like a Looney Tune thing, but it's not. This is not a conspiracy. This is not. This is Occam's razor at work. This is the simplest explanation to explain what we know. So now Comey says, okay, now what do we do? Now, if I go public, I am going to have to indict, or I'm going to have to recommend we bring charges against the Secretary of State and the Democratic nominee, the Attorney General, the previous Attorney General, the current Secretary of State, the Vice President of the United States, the President of the United States, likely a large number of top Pentagon brass, and God knows how many senators and how many representatives and so on. Because they thought that they could get away with this. They thought, the people outside of Clinton thought it was just standard operating practice. Okay, that's what she wants to do. That's what she wants to do. Because they did not know what was going on with the Clinton Foundation. That's why she set up her own server. But think about it. Everybody bought into this because they thought it was a non-event. And somehow somebody got the signal out. And now they're in real trouble. So now what do you do if you're James Comey and they tell you this? If they tell you this, what do you do? If they would not just make the announcement. They're ready for this guy. They've been getting ready for him for 2 years. I think it's possible that they could have appealed to his sense of patriotism and said, Mr. Comey, you know as well as I do what this evidence contains. This is the private conversation that's had on tarmacs and enclosed rooms and so on. Okay. You know that she's guilty, and we know that she's guilty. You also know that if she's guilty, then the president's guilty, and so is everybody else who ever got an email from her, because they knew, or should have known, that this was against the rules. So now, you're not just bringing charges against a former Secretary of State. You are bringing charges against 2 attorney generals, who are your bosses. You're bringing charges against Pentagon officials. You're bringing charges against the president and the vice president and the Congress. And here's the one thing that you didn't write, Nicholas, that just occurred to me. Because then they can also say, and by the way, James, you're bringing charges against yourself and your agency. Your job. Why did I not see this until this second? Why did I not see this until this second? It's the Loch Ness Monster effect. Whose job is it to find out whether or not domestic politicians or anybody inside the United States is leaking secure information? Whose job is that? It's the FBI's job. So this whole thing went on for 4 years under the nose of the FBI, And they either didn't catch it or didn't think it was worth reporting. I'll bet you that's it. I'll bet you anything that's it. So you indict the entire government. Now look, people like us think, swell, awesome, finally got some evidence. But that's not how the world works. And for the calculations that I've mentioned earlier, they don't care if 30% or 40% of the country can see right through this. They don't care about that. They're not going to try to convince us. They don't have to. All they have to do is outvote us. I think that's it. I really think that's the lever. This firewall's going to kick some ass, man. If I tried to write this before this, I knew I'd get a lot out of talking about it. I've gotten so many different pieces of this puzzle from so many different people. And Nicholas McAfee, I have to tell you, you provided an absolutely, really insightful look at something that's so clearly obvious that no one could see it. It's like the confession out on the coffee table when the police are searching the house. It's absolutely brilliant. But as I say, I think if I take that one more step, the president, the Congress, the Attorney General, where does it end? Wait a minute. What about the FBI? Whose job is it to make sure this didn't happen? Why has nobody talked about this? I have not heard this before, ever. I've been following this story for a year and a half. Why did this not ever come up? It's the Loch Ness Monster. That's what it is. It's social proof. It's social proof. All of us are guilty of it. I discovered the power of social proof about a year ago when I went down to Tampa, and I was given a squadron call sign by an actual group of Air Force pilots. I always thought I was immune to social proof, but what I meant by that was I'm immune to the social proof that the Democrats are dishing out because I know it's a lie. I make a living pointing out that it's a lie. But I am not immune to social proof. And the reason I say that is because I found myself doing anything. I would do anything not to embarrass myself in front of those guys. And I did. See, it's easy to talk about social proof when you talk about the social proof that most people are falling for. But all of us have these blind spots. And I came out of that weekend down there thinking, you know what? I really realized I would have done anything to not be further embarrassed by these guys. I have such respect for them, and I'm being so badly humiliated. And every word I say is being twisted and turned against me. I'm just going to sit here, shut up, and curl up into a ball. Yeah, okay. No. We're gonna get to a point here. You know, this is the point. I don't want to forget it. The close of this firewall message is I'll just give you the close right now. In fact, I think I'm probably gonna have to close the show right now. With due respect to Kevin Jordan, David Proctor, Lisa Owen, Kevin Jordan again, who brought up all kinds of great points that have been included in this discussion I've had earlier. I don't see the need to trample this into the ground. But here's the point, the closing point of this firewall. You know, I know you guys forgive me for making these notes. It's embarrassing. I hate the dead air. But it's like, I have to do this because otherwise I'll forget it. So here's the point of the firewall. I'm going to basically say to the camera, so look, ladies and gentlemen, here's the score. And this is not up for discussion. This is the situation now as it exists. The President of the United States is in collusion with the Clintons, that multiple laws have been broken, and that the agencies designed to protect us have not. The President of the United States has not protected the American people. The State Department has not protected the American people. The Republican opposition has not protected the American people. The Internal Revenue Service has not protected the American people. The National Security Agency has not protected the American people. Most of the political generals who are appointees in the Pentagon have not protected the American people, and they continue their social engineering experiments at the expense of readiness and combat efficiency. And now we find out that the premier law enforcement agency in the country either will not or cannot protect us, cannot protect the American people. What does that mean? Well, that means that we're going to have to protect ourselves, right? That's where it all goes in the end. It all goes into the end. It all goes back to the beginning. It's like every single creation myth in the world. The snake ends up biting its tail and forms a perfect circle. It begins with and it ends with we the people. That's all we have. That's all we have. That's all there is. They've got us completely surrounded. Poor bastards. It's going to be us. It's going to be the American people that's going to stop this. And the one thing that we did get before this horrible dose of horrible medicine that knocked the wind out of all of us was we got a little bit of sugar on that same teaspoon, because we found out that an entire country can simply stop. They can just wake up and stop. When you think about the social proof and the going with the stream in Great Britain, it makes this thing look ridiculous. There's no conservative opposition in Great Britain. Nothing like what we have here. They have people that are slightly less, the Tories are slightly less big government. There's no Tories. I've never heard of a Tory talking about dismantling the national health system. It's not part of their, this conservative redoubt that takes up 150 million people doesn't exist in Britain. And when we did the, I haven't read the comments on the Brexit firewall. I'm sure they're the same. Scott Ott reported to me a number of comments on the special edition that we did on the Brexit for Right Angle. And the one thing he said that was constantly coming up was, he said, many of these comments are coming from Brits who are thanking us because they have never heard this argument put this way as a good thing. They've never heard it described as a good thing, ever. And they think that they're all alone, and they think that they made a mistake because everybody's telling them they made a mistake. And by viewing this video, they realize, no, they did the right thing. So that's the hand. That's the hand. The hand is, they have all of the power, and they don't have all of the power. They have a lot of power. They have the power of the megaphone. They have the power to select what gets said and what doesn't get said. They have enormous power. But they also have an enormous weakness. Yes, thank you, Dave Big Booty. The media has not protected us either. They also have an enormous weakness. And the weakness is this. Their entire scam, and the same with the EU scam, and it's the same scam, by the way. The scam is, we want money and power that we didn't earn. Dinesh D'Souza's movie is all about that. He said, what's the most valuable thing in the world? If you're a thief, he said his time in prison made him realize that every crime is theft. All of it is theft. Murder is theft. Rape is theft. Obviously, robbery and burglary are theft. It's all theft. It's all about taking something that doesn't belong to you. All of it. He said, all of it is theft. So he said, look, if you've got a criminal mind, and you're not somebody, with a low IQ who decides to hold up a 7-Eleven or something, you can't foresee the consequences of that. What if you've got that kind of mindset, that kind of defective mindset, and you've got a high IQ? What do? Well, you know that you're not smart enough and you're not hardworking enough to go out and make your own profit. So what do? You realize that you are smart enough to buy votes from dupes, so long as you make sure that they never get the information that they're supposed to have. Then you can win this Ponzi scheme. So while they have all of the resources, they have one enormous, monumental, terribly, terribly dangerous weakness. Sorry. Here's the weakness. The weakness is, as Tammy I almost said Tammy Wynette. I only worked with her for 3 years. Tammy Bruce. As Tammy Bruce said to me one time after an event in Phoenix, she said, their problem, Bill, is that they're papering up the windows, that their entire plan works in the dark, and they have a lot of paper, and they have a lot, she didn't say this, she said the paper. I'm elaborating on the relative. They have the rhetoric. They have a lot of paper. They have a lot of paint. They have a lot of tape. They have a lot of workers. But the problem is that one tear in the paper that's keeping the light out will put some light into the room. They don't have a darkness generator. They can't create darkness. All they can do is keep out the light. They can keep out the truth. They can get away with everything if they can keep out the truth. And the truth is so obvious that you wake up someday and say, how did I believe in the Loch Ness Monster? How did I believe it? What could I have been thinking? You weren't thinking. And that's okay. You're doing what everybody else was doing. You don't have time to break down every decision you make in the course of a day and figure out whether it's logical or not. If there are pictures of the Loch Ness Monster that are published in photographs and in magazines, and you could say, okay, it's the National Enquirer or whatever, but you know what? I kind of want to believe it. There's a picture. I'm going to hang on to that. So you believe it because everybody else believes it. You're not told to believe it. This is the thing that people got to get clear. Sometimes people accuse us of, oh, so you're saying there's a giant conspiracy with these, why don't you bring out your tinfoil hats? You're saying that we're transmitting mind control rays out of the basement of the White House? Not saying that at all. Not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, it is the water that all of the fish swim in. So we think we're swimming against other fish. We think we're a line of fish, and they're a line of fish. And the battle is between two fishes. But it's not. The battle is between our fish and the sea and the fish on the other side. It's not just the fish on the other side. It's the ocean too. We're at war with the ocean. We are so susceptible to this that occasionally we are so susceptible to the social proof without knowing it. See, that's why social proof works. If you point out that you're a victim of social proof, then you're the kid at the end of the parade who says he's not wearing any clothes, and it falls apart. Falls apart. So the whole reason social proof works is because you don't realize it's working on you, in the same way that I didn't realize until I was flying home that I would have done anything for those guys down there. If I would have, whatever. I did not want to be humiliated by these guys. I wanted to be accepted by them because that's what I wanted to be my entire life. It was a tremendously powerful effect on my mind. So we're at war with the ocean that we swim in, and we don't even see it. And the reason I know that this has this kind of power over us, because this is not a rhetorical question either. This is a genuine question that I'm asking everybody who's watching this video to just think about for a moment. How many times have you ever heard Rush Limbaugh or me or Donald Trump or Glenn Beck or Michelle Malkin or Hugh Hewitt or Mark Levin, how many times have you heard anyone say something that made you gasp, just gasp, and say, I can't believe he said that? And then you realize that what he said was exactly what you believe in. But you're so amazed that somebody would just come out and say something that's so contrary to the ocean that you're just stunned. The biggest example of this for me, this is why Rush Limbaugh is the king. Rush Limbaugh is the king because of this. I remember hearing, I didn't hear it on the radio because I don't listen to anybody. I don't listen to anybody. I don't read anybody. I don't have time, and it's good that I don't. But I remember somebody telling me once that, this is all the social proof about global warming, all the social proof about how bad it is to have wealth, all the social proof against the rich and jets and the symbols and all of it is so pervasive. It's so pervasive that when I heard the story that Rush Limbaugh took one of his private jets to a golf tournament in Houston from Florida, and in mid-route, he realized that he'd left his golf clubs behind. He bragged about it. He said, so we were on EIB1, and I made a phone call, and I had my golf clubs put onto EIB2, and they arrived about an hour after we touched down on ground. I used my second private jet to fly my golf clubs to where I was going in my first private jet. And I went, what? That's so wrong. I mean, you just completely wasted that entire flight and all that fuel and all that. And then I just stopped. It's like, wait a minute. Of course he did. He earned his money. He sold an awful lot of Snapple. He earned his money. He can have 50 private jets. I don't think the carbon is having a significant effect on this atmosphere at all. This is the point I'm making. I gasped because somebody had actually demonstrated what I believe publicly. It's like the boy says he's not wearing any clothes. I just went, holy crap. Holy crap. How did he get away with that? And then you start thinking, man, that took a lot of guts. How many times have you ever heard anybody come out against being called a racist or whatever? Saying, I don't care what you call me. I don't care. I'm not gonna back off on the race thing. I'm not gonna back off on the Islam thing. I don't care what you call me. How many times have you seen somebody do that and say, hey, man, that took guts. Took guts to talk about that. Why? He's not in any danger of being assassinated. I certainly don't feel like I'm in any physical danger. I might be in a little bit more than most people, but it's not anything I think about. And it's not anything I want to think about, because if you start thinking about that, your life becomes a prison. So how many times have you heard somebody say something and you've said to yourself, I can't believe that he said that? Not in a bad way, but in a good way. Like, I can't believe finally somebody said this. How many times has that happened to you? Happens to me all the time. What does that mean? That means that during that instant when you've been looking at the other fish, at the blue fish, that's an instant when you began to realize that the ocean is moving, the currents of the ocean are moving their way. That not only do we have to swim in the opposite direction of these fish and have to beat them, but as we continue to try to swim to the other line, the line continues to push us back. It just continues to take us with us on this current of social beliefs. And every now and then we wake up, because somebody will wake us up, and we'll go, oh my God. And then we forget again. And it's not our fault. Somebody just pointed out Ben Shapiro. Brent Cates did. Brent, you didn't make does anybody remember who made these cups? I'm so embarrassed that I put a post about this. I cannot remember who sent me this. We want to buy some from you. We love them. We want to sell them. So that's it, That's it. It's the gasp. Ted Nugent. Yeah, there you go. Ted Nugent. What do you do? What do you think when somebody goes on The View or something and says, and they say, so you're going to tell me you have your guns for hunting? No, I have my guns to kill people. I have my guns to kill bad guys. I can't believe he said that. Right in front of everybody. Yeah. So, Job 1925A, or might be, it's got to be Job 1925A, said, thank God for new media. Folks, I've talked an awful lot about the rise and fall of civilization. I've talked about end times. I've talked about the loss of all of our values. I've talked about all these things, and now there's a drinking game going on. I see it. I'm not that dumb, Every time I mention the letters R or K, somebody has to take a drink someplace. So he did the whole RK thing that explains it biologically. But this is what I'm going to leave you with tonight. There's no one here to protect us except ourselves. We're not powerless. They want us to think we're powerless, but they're not. And we are, without question, exhibiting all of the classic symptoms of the end stages of a civilization prior to its collapse. There's no question about it. All of the symptoms that brought down all of these empires are here in America, and they're getting stronger every day. And all of this would be enough to make you want to just ammo up and move to Montana. But, no other civilization prior to us has had the means for common people to talk to other common people. They've never had that ability. They have never had a chance to get away from the London Times, or to get away from the priesthood, or to get away from whatever, from the Pharaoh's court. They've never had a chance to talk to each other and wake each other up in the way that we're doing that right now. That has never happened before. So this is not a guarantee by any means that we're going to escape that fate. But it is a shot. It's a chance. It's a door that is not completely closed in the way that it has been concluded. If you believe this RK theory, and I do, and also the civilizational collapse theory, which deals with like C and for civilization and V for vigor of the civilization, it makes perfect sense to me. And so in some sense, we are doomed to live in a time where biologically our society and everything we love about it is going to collapse around us. That's why we call ourselves conservatives. We want to hang on to it because we like it. But you and I are having a conversation of a kind right now. And even if you watch this later on YouTube, most of you will be watching this on YouTube, not at the time I recorded it, which is 7:41 p.m. Pacific time on the 6th of July, 2016. You may be watching this a day later, a month later, a year later. Every now and then, I shouldn't admit this, because I actually am genuinely a pretty humble guy. I've just had it beaten into me. I just had enough pain beaten into me that it beat all the ego out of me. But the one thought I occasionally allow myself, the one egotistical thought that I occasionally allow myself is this: I wonder how far into the future will be the last person to either read or see something that I've done. It's an interesting question, actually, because if you could make the case that, no, Bill, they're going to be reading or watching this video 50,000 years from now. Okay. If, on the other hand, if you could see the future and find out, no, there's going to be just this utter collapse and it's just going to go right down the drain, and the herbivores are going to take over, and, you know, people watched it for another year or 10 or 15. That's an interesting question. How long will this last? How long will this message last, or whatever message? Anyway, the point is the message is getting out, and the point is that we don't have to unpaper all of the windows. All we have to do is rip a hole in it, and the light comes in on its own. And once the light comes in, it's not dark in there anymore. And once it's not dark anymore, you can see what's going on. You can just see what's going on. Yeah, this is a corker. This will be fun for you guys. It'll be fun for me too, because usually I don't connect these to Stratosphere Lounges in anything like this degree of immediacy. But I'm going to shoot it tomorrow morning, and I'm going to write it tomorrow morning. I think I should write it tonight, but I'm tired, and I want to get it right. I'm going to get to bed early, and I'm going to go and knock this thing out, and I'm going to hope this comes through. I always have the video I can go back and watch. All 2 hours of it anyway, hour and 33 minutes of it.